Hello brothers, and welcome to Sigma Old Man channel. There's something unsettling about a man who doesn't need to be seen to be noticed. In a world where everyone is performing, the Sigma male refuses to audition. And that, right there, is where things start to get weird. Women sense it instantly, long before a word is spoken. It's not attraction in the usual sense, it's the quiet kind that unnerves. The kind that makes them fix their hair without knowing why. Here's a fact most people won't admit. Studies in social psychology reveal that humans fear what they can't predict more than what they dislike. And a Sigma male? He's the human version of unpredictable calm. He doesn't flirt to fit in, doesn't talk to impress, doesn't react the way the script expects. That silent independence flips every social switch women are conditioned to understand. And suddenly, their behavior around him starts to glitch. They laugh a little too loud, glance a little too long, or overanalyze every second of his stillness. It's not because he's doing something, it's because he's not doing what the world expects. That's the Sigma's secret. He rewrites the emotional algorithm of the room without lifting a finger. So buckle up, because what you're about to discover isn't the usual internet fluff about confidence and mystery. This is the real psychology behind why women act so strangely around the man who doesn't need to chase validation, the Sigma male. Number 1, your energy feels untamed, yet controlled. There's something about your presence that carries quiet danger. Not the kind that threatens, but the kind that warns. You move with calm precision, yet there's an unmistakable edge under the surface. It's like people can sense that you've been through chaos before, and instead of breaking, you learn to master it. That mastery radiates. Women can feel that duality in you, the mix of peace and potential fire, and it pulls them in while making them a little uneasy at the same time. Most men show their strength too loudly. They flex it, speak it, broadcast it to prove something. But your strength doesn't need a microphone. It sits quietly in your posture, your tone, your eyes. That restraint is what makes it powerful. It's the difference between someone holding a sword and someone who doesn't need to draw it. That silent authority commands more respect than any display ever could. Women sense that. They feel the tension between your calm and your capability. You're not aggressive, but you could be if you wanted to. You're not emotional, but there's something in your silence that hints at a storm you've learned to control. It's that control that shakes them, because control is rare. Most people are slaves to their moods, impulses, and insecurities. You've learned to master yours. That self-command is more magnetic than looks or status because it communicates safety and danger in the same breath. They might not be able to explain it, but they feel it in their body, that quiet awareness that you're not a man to play with. Not because you're cold or cruel, but because you carry the discipline of someone who's met his demons and walked away with a leash in his hand. That's why women act differently around you. They sense the untamed energy you choose to keep leashed, and that paradox, calm power, restrained chaos, makes your presence unforgettable. It's not just that you control your energy, it's that your energy tells the world you could lose control, but choose not to. And that, to the human psyche, is the purest form of power. Number 2, you force authentic emotion in a fake world. Most people have learned to fake their way through life. They fake smiles at work, fake confidence online, and fake interest in conversations that mean nothing. The modern world rewards performance, not truth. But when a Sigma male walks into that same world, he disrupts the entire illusion without saying a word. His energy rejects fakery because it comes from a place that's painfully real. And when that realness collides with someone who's used to wearing masks, something inside them starts to shake. Women feel it first. Around you, their usual tricks, charm, sarcasm, social small talk, don't work the same way. They sense you're not impressed by what most men chase. You don't light up at flattery, you don't crumble at rejection, and you don't beg for attention. That kind of emotional stability creates an uncomfortable mirror. It forces them to drop the act, even if they don't want to. They start to feel exposed, not because you pry, but because your calm presence makes pretending feel cheap. Your authenticity creates a strange silence in them, a moment where they realize how much of their behavior is driven by performance, not truth. And that realization can be both magnetic and terrifying. Some will lean in, drawn by the rare chance to just be real for once. Others will pull away because your energy threatens the comfortable lies they live by. Either way, no one stays the same after being around you. What makes you different is that you don't demand honesty. You simply exist in it. You've made peace with your shadows so others can't hide theirs around you. That's why women act weird. Their emotions, once carefully curated, suddenly spill into the open. They feel more alive, more self-aware, and more unsettled all at once. Because deep down, every human craves authenticity. But standing next to someone who actually lives it exposes how fake the world has become. You don't force emotion through words. You awaken it through truth. And truth, in a society built on performance, is the most dangerous attraction there is. Number 3, you expose the artificial. Your presence has a way of stripping away what's not real. It's not because you try to, but because your energy doesn't tolerate pretense. A Sigma male can feel the difference between authenticity and performance the way most people feel temperature. You can tell when someone's pretending to be confident, exaggerating their emotions, or saying what they think will sound impressive. That quiet awareness unsettles people, especially women who are used to being admired for the image they project, not the person they actually are. You don't respond to the act. You don't reward charm, validation games, or emotional manipulation. Instead, you stay calm and unreadable, and that's where everything starts to fall apart. The mask only works when the audience plays along, and you refuse to. That refusal forces people to face who they are beneath the filters and personas. Around you, the small lies people tell to maintain control, the exaggerated laughter, the practiced tone, the fake self-assurance, begin to sound hollow. And the moment they realize you see through it, their comfort evaporates. For women, this is especially disarming because so much of modern social power comes from perception. They've learned how to use tone, body language, and image to influence attention and emotion. But when those signals bounce off you without effect, it creates psychological static. Number 4, you make them compete with themselves. You don't spark competition between women. You spark reflection within them. Your presence silently challenges them to face themselves, not each other. You don't chase, flatter, or compare, and that neutrality forces an uncomfortable question in their minds. Why do I want his attention so badly? That's when the inner competition begins, not against others, but against their own illusions. You're not trying to prove a point or play hard to get. You're simply content within yourself. And that calm self-assurance becomes a mirror that shows women how much of their behavior is driven by validation. They start wondering if they're being genuine or just reacting to your indifference. It's a strange kind of pull. They want to impress you, but they can't figure out how, because what you value isn't beauty, charm, or effort. It's authenticity. This realization flips something inside them. You stop being the focus. They do. They start questioning their motives, their patterns, their dependence on attention. You awaken a self-awareness that's rare in human interactions, and it's both alluring and uncomfortable. They might find themselves dressing differently, speaking more truthfully, or simply behaving with more self-respect. Not to win you, but to align with the standard your energy quietly sets. That's the paradox of the Sigma effect. You're not competing for anyone's approval, yet you inspire others to raise their internal bar. You're not chasing validation, yet your presence makes people question why they ever needed it. And that's why women act weird around you, because deep down, they realize it's not you they're trying to win, it's themselves. Number 5, you trigger their instinct for self-awareness. There's something about your silence that unsettles people, not because it's cold, but because it reflects truth. You don't chase attention or fill space with noise, and that quiet confidence turns into a mirror that exposes what others try to hide. When a Sigma male walks into a room, the atmosphere subtly shifts. People feel watched, not by your eyes, but by their own conscience. Women especially pick up on this first. They start to feel seen in a way that isn't flattering. It's revealing. Your presence forces self-awareness, because you don't give them the usual feedback loop. You're not nodding excessively, not smiling to comfort, not reacting to every cue. And without that social validation, they start turning inward, asking silent questions. Why do I feel nervous? Why am I trying so hard to be liked? It's not something you do intentionally. It's just the natural result of being grounded in yourself while everyone else is performing. That kind of energy doesn't create attraction in the typical sense. It creates exposure. You don't praise, but you don't judge either. You simply hold up a quiet mirror through your stillness. And when people see themselves through that mirror, they notice things they usually avoid. Their insecurities, their pretenses, their masks. For women who are used to being effortlessly admired, that moment of reflection can be deeply uncomfortable. What makes it more intense is that your calm presence gives them no escape. There's no drama, no reaction, no performance to distract from what they're feeling. They realize they can't control how you see them, because you're not really seeing them through desire. You're observing them through awareness. That difference changes everything. Your silence doesn't demand attention, it demands truth. And that's why people act strange around you. You awaken a version of them that's more honest, more alert, and more aware than they're used to being. It's not your words that shake them. It's the stillness that shows them who they really are. Number 6, you carry emotional ambiguity. Your calm isn't peace to them, it's a puzzle. Most people are used to reading emotions easily. They can tell when someone's interested, bored, angry, or amused. But with you, there's no clear signal. Your face doesn't give away excitement. Your tone doesn't reveal weakness. And your energy stays level no matter what's happening. That emotional ambiguity throws people off balance, especially women who are naturally intuitive when it comes to emotional cues. When they can't decode what you're feeling, their minds start working overtime. They try to read your silences, your glances, the smallest shifts in your expression, but there's no pattern to find. You're emotionally neutral in a world addicted to expression. And that neutrality doesn't feel empty. It feels loaded. It's as if there's something you know that you're not saying, something you feel but refuse to show. That quiet restraint keeps their curiosity alive, because mystery feeds the human brain far more than clarity ever could. Women act differently around you because they can't file you neatly into a category. You're not cold enough to be dismissed, and not warm enough to be predictable. You hover in that strange space between interest and indifference, and that's where obsession grows. They replay conversations in their heads, analyzing tone and timing, trying to decide if you like them, if you didn't, if you ever will. That uncertainty triggers their instinct to solve the emotional puzzle you represent. What they don't realize is that you're not hiding your emotions. You've simply mastered them. You don't allow the world to dictate how you feel, and that control makes your emotional energy unpredictable. It's the unknown that draws them in, not manipulation. You're not mysterious for attention. You're mysterious because you're balanced. And in a culture where everyone overshares and overreacts, that kind of composure is rare. It's unsettling. It's fascinating. And it's the exact reason they can't stop trying to decode you, even when you've already moved on. Number 7, your aura suggests secrets, not stories. You don't create mystery. You are the mystery. Not because you're hiding things, but because you refuse to overshare like everyone else. In a world where people spill their whole lives online just to feel seen, your silence feels sacred. You don't rush to explain your past, your thoughts, or your feelings, and that restraint gives your aura a quiet gravity. Women sense it right away, that you know more than you reveal, that your life has chapters no one gets to read unless they've earned the right. It's not about secrecy, it's about discipline. You understand that real power comes from privacy, from knowing that not everything needs to be said to be understood. That's what separates you from the performative world around you. While others use words to prove depth, yours is felt. Women feel it in the pauses between your sentences, in your detached focus, in the way you never rush to fill silence. It's not that you're hard to read, it's that you exist beyond the language most people use to describe themselves. That energy, calm but unknowable, pulls people in while keeping them slightly off balance. They sense you've seen and learned things that changed you in ways you'll never fully describe. That makes them curious, sometimes nervous, because curiosity without access breeds fascination. They can't figure out what drives you, what you want, or what you're capable of. And that's what keeps their minds orbiting around yours, long after you're gone. You're not trying to be mysterious. You're just uninterested in explaining yourself to people who haven't earned your truth. The result is a kind of depth that feels ancient. The depth of someone who's lived, learned, and chosen silence over spectacle. In a generation obsessed with storytelling, your refusal to narrate your own legend is what makes you unforgettable. You don't tell stories to impress. You carry secrets that speak without words. Number 8, you represent freedom. They can't control your independence doesn't come from pride or rebellion. It's simply how you exist. You move through life by your own compass, not because you're trying to be different, but because dependence feels unnatural to you. That kind of emotional self-sufficiency is rare, and it unsettles people who draw power from control. Women can feel it the moment they meet you, that you're not looking for approval, comfort, or belonging. You're already complete, and that completeness challenges everything they've been conditioned to believe about connection. For most people, influence equals safety. They feel secure when they can predict or guide someone's emotions. But you're unreadable, unmoved by flattery, and unaffected by the emotional cues that work on almost everyone else. You don't need to be needed, and that's what makes your presence difficult to control. Your freedom exposes the quiet truth that many forms of affection are just disguised ownership. When you don't play that game, the emotional rules collapse. That's why women act strange around you. Part of them admires your detachment. Another part wants to challenge it. They test your boundaries, trying to see if they can make you care on their terms. But when they realize your interest can't be manipulated, that you only give energy when it feels genuine, they're left both frustrated and fascinated. You become a paradox, the man they can't control yet can't stop thinking about. Your life runs on a personal code that doesn't bend for attention or validation. That code is what gives your freedom weight. It's not chaos, it's structure built from self-awareness. You belong to your purpose, not to people, and that truth radiates from you without effort. It's the quiet power of someone who doesn't need the world to understand them to feel alive. You don't escape control to prove anything. You escape it because you were never meant to live inside someone else's emotional walls. Number 9. You interrupt their emotional scripts. Most people run emotional programs without realizing it. They've learned what buttons to press to get reactions, validation, or control. Women especially test emotional patterns to gauge a man's strength. They'll pull back to see if he chases, go silent to see if he panics, or act upset to see if he submits. These aren't always malicious. They're instinctive ways to measure emotional stability. But with you, those scripts stop working. You don't react the way they expect. You don't chase, over-explain, or beg for peace. You simply stay centered, and that breaks the rhythm they've relied on their whole lives. Your lack of predictable reaction is what fascinates them. It's not that you're cold, it's that you operate from awareness, not impulse. You understand emotional manipulation the way a chess master understands openings, not with judgment, but with patience. When someone tries to bait you emotionally, you don't bite. That calm refusal to play along forces them to confront the reality that their usual tactics hold no power over you. And when control disappears, authenticity has to take its place. At first, this disarms them. Then it intrigues them, because you're not performing dominance or passivity. You're simply unmoved by chaos. Your emotional balance becomes a mirror showing them how reactive they truly are. And that's where fascination starts. They begin testing again, not out of manipulation, but curiosity. Who is this man that I can't read? You interrupt the emotional script by refusing to participate in it. You replace reaction with presence, conflict with composure. The result? They can no longer rely on old emotional algorithms, so they're forced into a new one. Honesty. Around you, games lose their thrill because peace feels more powerful. And once someone experiences that kind of grounded energy, every other emotional exchange starts to feel cheap. You don't just break patterns, you rewrite the emotional code entirely. Number 10, you don't need their soft power. Every person uses some form of power to navigate the world. For many women, that power isn't physical or financial. It's emotional. They know how to influence through tone, sympathy, attention, or subtle charm. It's not manipulation most of the time. It's instinct, refined through experience. They understand how to make men feel needed, important, or protective, because that usually gives them a sense of control and safety. But when they meet a Sigma male, that emotional power suddenly stops working. You don't respond to flattery, guilt, or emotional baiting the way most men do. Their charm doesn't bend your focus. Their withdrawal doesn't trigger your chase. Their sympathy tests don't make you cave. You register their emotional cues, but you don't move unless you choose to. That detachment feels unnatural to them because it disrupts the rhythm of how they've learned to interact. It's like pressing familiar buttons on a machine that suddenly has no response. The silence between the press and the reaction becomes deafening. What happens next is psychological. Confusion replaces confidence. They start wondering if they did something wrong, if you're secretly angry, or if you simply don't care. But what's really happening is that they're encountering a man who doesn't need emotional validation to feel secure. That independence is rare, and it quietly exposes how dependent most people have become on emotional influence for relevance. Your energy communicates that you operate on principle, not persuasion. You're kind, but not easily swayed, empathetic, but not easily controlled. That balance makes them rethink how they connect, because connection without leverage feels vulnerable. You take away their soft power not by fighting it, but by being immune to it. And that immunity is not cruelty, it's clarity. You don't reject emotion, you just refuse to be ruled by it. That's what unsettles them most. In a world where emotions have become currency, you've chosen to live without needing to trade. Number 11. You operate from inner law, not social law. Most people live by invisible social rules, say the polite thing, laugh at the right time, pretend to care even when they don't. Society runs on these unspoken exchanges. I'll give you validation if you give me comfort. But you don't play by those rules. Your behavior follows a different compass, one guided by personal principle, not social expectation. You don't talk to fill silence, you don't flatter to be liked, and you don't stay somewhere your spirit's already left. That quiet defiance of the social script makes people, especially women, feel something they rarely experience: uncertainty. Your independence doesn't scream rebellion, it whispers authority. You don't demand respect, yet your detachment commands it. Women pick up on that difference instantly. You're not trying to break rules to look powerful. You simply live by your own law. That inner law governs what you say, where you give your time, and who earns your energy. You're not rude, you're precise. You don't waste emotion or attention on empty exchanges, and that focus unsettles those who thrive on predictable reactions. Women act differently around you because they sense that you're not bound by the usual emotional contracts. They can't lure you with social rewards or guilt you with emotional debts. You don't need validation, and that makes your approval rare and therefore valuable. Your decisions aren't reactive. They're deliberate, which creates an energy of calm power. It's power without aggression, influence without negotiation. You live by your own standard, one that answers to truth over trend. That self-governed discipline makes you feel untouchable, not because you're unreachable, but because you can't be owned by society's emotional economy. You move freely in a world obsessed with compliance, and that freedom is magnetic. It's not arrogance, it's authenticity at its highest frequency. You don't ask for permission to exist on your terms, and that's what makes your presence impossible to forget. Number 12, you radiate hidden standards. You never have to announce your standards. People simply feel them. It's in the way you carry yourself, the calm authority in your silence, the focus in your eyes. You don't explain what you tolerate or chase after respect. Your boundaries exist in your energy, and that alone filters out the shallow, the fake, and the ungrounded. Women sense this immediately. It's not intimidation, it's awareness. They can feel that you live by a personal code that doesn't bend for convenience or charm. That invisible boundary makes them instinctively adjust how they behave around you. They speak with more intention. They choose their words carefully. Not because you demand it, but because your presence doesn't allow emotional laziness. You force sincerity by simply being sincere yourself. Most people are used to getting away with surface-level connection, empty compliments, dramatized emotions, or playful manipulation. But when they stand in front of you, all of that feels cheap. You don't reward performance, and that makes authenticity the only language that works in your presence. Your hidden standards are like an energetic gate. Not everyone gets access, and that exclusivity creates quiet respect. You're not cold or distant, you're selective. You value peace over popularity, meaning over noise, and that clarity radiates without effort. It's not what you say, it's what you don't entertain that defines your power. Women who encounter that kind of discipline experience a mix of admiration and uncertainty. They realize that earning your attention requires something real: depth, honesty, consistency. There's no shortcut, no emotional trick to bypass your filter. That's why they act differently around you. They rise to the level of your energy or quietly back away from it. Your standards aren't spoken, they're felt. And that's the most powerful kind, the kind that doesn't demand respect but automatically creates it. You don't control people, you inspire alignment. And that, more than charm or words, is what separates a Sigma male from everyone else. At the core of it all, the Sigma male doesn't confuse women because he's trying to. He does it simply by being himself in a world that's forgotten how to be real. His power doesn't come from chasing dominance or playing mind games. It comes from living by his own code, quietly and unapologetically. He doesn't fit into any of the molds society worships. Not the loud alpha, not the agreeable beta. He's the variable no one saw coming, self-governed, emotionally disciplined, and free in ways that make others question their own chains. Women act differently around him because his presence reminds them of something both thrilling and terrifying. That genuine masculinity doesn't need validation, and that peace can be far more commanding than performance. His silence reveals who's pretending, his calm exposes who's unstable, and his authenticity forces people to confront how much of their personality is just a mask. To some, that energy feels magnetic. To others, it feels unbearable. But to everyone, it's unforgettable. A Sigma male's life is not about resistance, it's about alignment, choosing what resonates, walking away from what doesn't, and never needing to prove why. He represents the rare kind of strength that's not measured by control over others, but by mastery of self. And in a world obsessed with noise, trends, and appearances, that kind of quiet truth stands out like fire in the dark. So if you've ever felt misunderstood, detached, or different in a way that words can't quite explain, maybe you're not broken. Maybe you're simply Sigma. And if you are, never dilute that essence to fit a world that fears what it can't define. Keep your silence sharp, your standards high, and your energy clean. Because those who truly see your value won't need you to shout it. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, drop a comment sharing your thoughts, and share it with someone who needs to understand the power of staying true to themselves. Your support keeps this movement alive, and together we'll keep exposing the truth others are too afraid to speak.